I'd like to now show you how to do brick design. Now, brick design is where you print your motif, but on the first row you create exactly what you learned in the previous lesson. And in the second row, you don't actually put the block exactly underneath, you move it halfway along. Can you see how the second row is created? And so you end up creating this sort of brick wall effect. So what I'll do is, if I get you guys started, then I'll go back in a minute and show you what we're going to, some examples. So if you know how to charge up your block, don't you? You just dab your paint onto the block like we did before, no splodges. And then again, I think if you start in the middle, push it down just for a couple of seconds, and you're going to create the first row. Remember, it's just a row. Now you can decide what you want to do here. You might decide to leave a little gap or a larger gap or no gap at all. It's completely your choice, because everything is about what you would like to create. Now I've created 3 blocks here, which I'll just show you. Can you see these 3 blocks? There we are, 3 images. Now I'm just going to show you again how we do that brick motif, the brick pattern with the motif rather. We just literally put the block halfway between the 2 and push it down. Can you see that? So it's in between the 2. Does that make sense, Fauzia?
Does it matter if you've got half a print?
No, in fact that's
because
perfect. No, just because actually
yeah.
when you look at everyday fabrics, you don't kind of suddenly end up with blank spaces, do you? So if you've got a half a motif, that's absolutely fine, no problem at all. So again, here we have, if I just show you my second block here, so you can see where I've positioned this block to create the brick pattern. And so you just continue on charging up your block and just positioning it each time mid-station between. Now, Rebecca, you've just finished your first row, so can you show me, point to where you think you're going to place the middle of the next block?
Here.
Sort of about, yeah, so if you see this empty line here, so that's about where you're going to position it, that's right. And Lucy, can you show me where you feel you're going to put yours?
Here.
Excellent, well done. So you're very confident about that.
Does it matter if your blocks are slightly wonky?
No, not at all. I like wonky. Wonky's fine by me. It really isn't about perfection, it's about creating your own design. And actually, I think in the world and in nature, most things are a little bit wonky, aren't there? There's no thing that's actually perfectly symmetrical, is there, in nature? Anyway, so here we have my finished demo, and you can see how we're going to build up. There's the first row was in, and actually you can't tell now which was the first row and which was the second, can you? Now, can I leave you to carry on and with your block printing? If you've got any questions, you must remember to shout. And I'm going to just talk through some of the examples that we've prepared here. This is a piece that's ongoing, and you can see very clearly the little men. It's very easy to see the brick motif here because the orientation of the block with the human being makes it very simple to see. And again, with yours, Fauzia,
yes, a little bit like
with your fish there, it's very easy to see as well, isn't it? And here we have a completed piece of fabric where I finished the whole piece, and you can see that the whole piece of fabric has been filled up with the brick pattern. Now, there are lots of different samples of brick patterns. There we've got our logo here, which is works out very, very well. And then we have all sorts of different Polynesian designs where there's a nice pattern here. Can you almost see the brick in that one, can't you? And again, this one here, I think, is rather lovely. That's a very, I think because there's gaps between these blocks, you can actually see more clearly the brick design. You can see what you're aiming for, which makes life a little bit easier. And I think just to finish off, I'd like to show you what we do with this. So these, the projects that we were working on for the brick, this is a penny. Now you can see that the tulips here have been printed as a brick pattern. Now, I'll tell you a little secret. There's a couple of butterflies on here. Can you see those butterflies? butterflies. And I'll tell you why the butterflies are there, is because I had a splodge. Now, sometimes you do get a splodge, but it doesn't matter. There's always a way around a splodge. So there was a little mistake. So all I did was got the butterfly blocks, and with a darker colour, can you see the splodges at all? No. Are they beautifully hidden? Well, anyway, so there's always a way around a problem, so don't worry. So that's a little child's apron, and this is a pinny. Now again, can you see, oops-a-daisy, can you see the lovely brick pattern there that's been created around the hem of this apron?
It almost creates like a texture where you have blocked up more paint on one pattern row, and then on the one below it's slightly less, so it looks like it's textured.
It does, doesn't it? It's lovely. Now, you know, with obviously this brick pattern, you can carry on as long as you like, because here we've only put 2 rows of brick. Now, we could have just carried on and covered the entire apron with brick, or you could be selective. It's essentially your project. You just do whatever you like, but knowing how to do the brick pattern makes life a lot easier in designing your own fabric. Now, whilst you finish that, I would just like to finish off by doing a little reminder about our... Now, do you remember our serendipity cloth? We have a wet piece of cotton here. Now, we obviously could throw the... all this paint down the sink by running it under the tap. But I hate to waste anything. And so what we do here, when you've finished, if you could just give your block a nice wipe like this, can you see? And right at the end, not now, when you've finished, because we're just learning to clean the blocks and how to look after them. That still isn't clean, so at the end what we'll do is we'll run these under a tap with some cold water and a toothbrush. But that's just a good way of not wasting any of the paint. And then also the sponge, can you see here the sponge? Just give your sponge a wipe all over the fabric, like this. And you can just see all that paint would have ended up down the sink. But actually, we're going to end up creating a whole new background for some more block printing. And do you remember from our previous lesson, we had the red, and now I've got the green. So I'm just going to use up all this green. Can you see how yummy that's going to be? Now, there are some sort of darker areas, and if you want to just dilute that slightly, you just run it under the tap, spread it around. Also, just give yourself a little clean up. Don't waste any of that paint either. And just leave that to the side, ready for the next stage. So now we've learned how to do the brick pattern, we're going to move on to do half drop.